What's up, everyone? Today we have a Troy-Bilt 21-inch TB 110. It's 550EX, 140cc, and I know nothing about it except this engine is not going to stay on there. Why, you're asking? Oops, I need to actually see that, huh? It's a little low. Also missing the screw there. But I need a couple things off of this deck. One, I need this side chute because there's one that I am going to be selling. It does not have the side chute, but it doesn't have a bag. Problem with this one is it requires a newer style of bag, which are in thousands of machines. They'll all fit more or less. Problem is I don't have any. The generation right before this, though, I have 2 empty decks and a whole lot of bags for them. So at this point, I'd rather get rid of the deck, recycle it, take the cable, take the other stuff off there, take the motor, put on a good deck, and get it out of my garage. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So first things first, we need to see if it's a good motor. It's low in oil. Still has oil, but it's a little low. Doesn't exactly have the world's best compression either. So let's see what we can do. I tried pulling on it. Nothing's happening. There's no primer. It's an auto choke. So there's a little bit of gas in there, not a whole lot. That could very well just be the problem. Maybe just low on fuel. But there should be at least some in there. Yeah, I think I'm just going to spray some starting fluid down the plug hole and see if it turns over. I put a little bit of oil in there to bring it up to the very lowest section where it's acceptable. If it's a bad motor, I don't want to be, filling it up with good oil. Let's try a little fuel. Sometimes with the choke door closed, it doesn't actually go into the throat, so that very well could be our problem. This is 2-cycle fuel. I pressed through the choke. Did it pop through the carb? It kind of sounded like it popped through the carb. Popping through either the exhaust or the carb doesn't really matter. It's obviously not healthy. That could be a few things. One of the things, though, because I'm feeling a little low on compression, is maybe the valve is not seated all the way. Because if the valve's not seated all the way, then it's going to be allowing the compression and explosion to go through. Gonna need a higher incline. So the first time I did this, it was inclined. It was on a brick or a block, but I just don't think it was enough. Most of these engines, if you try to do this, oh, there's one more, it will leak because this is open to the crank. So which one is the exhaust? Let's see. Thinking the top one is the exhaust. So let me put a clamp on the bar so we can spin this over and we'll check both. So yes, I know, it's supposed to be in top dead center. But the problem with that is, do you realize how hard it is to do that sometimes? That valve is compressed about as far as it's going to be compressing, and yet we have no movement on the exhaust. So we need to adjust that valve. So yet again, if you're going to be doing this, make sure that you're either on top dead center, the true top dead center, or the other valve is in the further lowest position you can go. At that point you can guarantee there's not supposed to be any type of pressure on this at all. You should have it exactly the way it is, and you don't have to worry about a compression release either. Okay, now that that's loose, it's really odd. A lot of these I found conflicting information. Some says 4 to 6, some say 5 to 7. So what we're going to do is 4 to 6. And when I mean that, I mean 6 thousandths. That's a little bit too tight. Basically, you want it to have just enough drag that it's not going to fall off if you do that, but also you don't want to have to really pull on it. This is the tricky part. Usually they tighten a little bit, so I'm going to put my wrench on it. It's 8 millimeters, by the way. I'm going to loosen it a little bit, and then we're going to tighten the center. And it could be a little tighter. I'm going to redo it. Okay, it's a little tighter. It has a decent amount of drag on there, but it's not too much. Now we're going to spin it over. We're going to clean it first, and then we're going to check to make sure there still is a clearance when it goes over 1 full revolution, and then we're going to check this one. Definitely a whole lot more compression now. I'm going to take out the spark plug. Yeah, it's okay, we're men. My fewer gauge fingers say that that's roughly 5 thousandths, which is a little high. Good, because it is a little high. Maybe closer to 4. which is where it should be. Yeah, it's a little tight. It's probably like 3 3/4. If, well, you know what I mean. It's exactly 4. And it did keep the setting when I went around 1 full revolution, so the valve is secure. That's secure. I'm gonna put the cover back on and we'll give this a pull again. Naturally, when I put a little fuel in there just to see, because we did have a valve problem, it started leaking. That's why there's vice grips down there. So we have a carb problem too, but I'm not going to show that. We might still have to prime it, I don't know, because there is carb issues. It might not start, but let's give it a pull, and if we need to, we will put a little fuel or starting fluid or something down the choke, or set down the throat. Feels like it wants to. Got stuck. Well, I think we fixed one problem just to make another one worse. So the good news and bad news? The good news is I heard a small hissing, and it's coming from the tank, and as soon as I opened the lid, or took off the lid, the carb stopped leaking when I took off the clamps, so I think the tank is pressurized, which isn't good. Just means we need a new lid though, but interesting. Okay, there's no crawlers in there. So something else I could be doing or causing our problems here is a broken flywheel key, so we're going to take that off. Flywheels are one of those amazing things that everyone has their own way of doing it. There's 1,000 different ways of doing so. They all share something common, like you should be having a spark plug unplugged right now. You don't need an impact drill or driver or anything. You just could get a stick of wood and a socket, and it should work. But I like doing this way. I say that because everyone has their own way, and of course their way is right and everyone else's is wrong. That gets amplified when it's broken. But it's not. Huh. It's not even close to broken. Very weird. Well, that could be real bad. That could be a cam breaking. Okay, so the plug is in. I'm gonna take out the plug real quick. I don't know if you can see that. That's wet. It's not necessarily full of fuel either. It's water. So I'm going to blow this off and put the flywheel cup back on and spin it. It's all put back together. Let's give it a pull. I did put fuel down, by the way. Are still getting popping. Just to make sure, I'm going to readjust the valves one more time, double check, and if it's not, we might just take a compression reading and see what's going on. So redoing the valves is taking out the plug. It's completely bridged over, full of water, which is odd. So we still have a problem with water. I'm going to blow it out, spin it around, change the oil probably, and see what's going on. After readjusting the valves, I looked it up. It's supposed to be 4 to 8 thousandths on the exhaust and 2 to 4 in intake. We're at 6 on the exhaust and 3-ish, 4-ish on the intake. So we're within spec. If this doesn't work, we either have two problems, the head or the cam. Kind of thinking the cam, but it could still be the head. I blew it out, shut my air compressor down there, got all the nasty. There was a lot of nasty I took out. I also put a new plug in there because of that. Let's give it a pull. Well, that's promising. I'm going to clean the carb and we'll give it a second pull. So your battery's about to die, but I found a cover. I had to carry those an extra, put a new fuel tank on, an extra one of course. The carb was nasty, so let's try that. Okay, so I think we had two problems. One, we had water in the cylinder. Two, we had a valve that was, or valve clearance that was wrong. So if you're having no compression, no starting, valve clearancing is very important for these machines. And obviously the carb as well. But, yeah, if you, give this a try, make sure to look at the plug like I should have done in the beginning, but either way, when you're doing the valve clearancing, you should be looking at the plug. I was just a little stubborn, but don't do my mistakes. There we go. Okay, well, if this helped, put a thumbs up, catch me in the next video, and definitely subscribe. Later.